Hello, hello, and welcome to the Office Hours with the College Success Professor podcast and Facebook Live. Today, I have a lovely guest here who is a good friend, an internet friend. And I have known her for, a couple of months now. And I wanted to invite her to the podcast because in knowing her, she shared so much of her personal story and her information. And I knew it would be of benefit to the students and the parents in my community. So I wanted to invite her on, especially at this time of the year where we know that students are going to be thinking about jobs and internships. And one of the number one in job positions that college graduates who are in the liberal arts majors get when they graduate is in the field of sales. And she has such a unique perspective when it comes to sales. She makes it fun, she makes it not scary. And I knew that she would be a wealth of information and resources. So, welcome, Jaunai Walker.
Thank you so much, Phoenix. I'm so excited to be here with the College Success Professor.
So, all right. So, usually the first question that I ask all of my guests, and we had a little bit of conversation about this before we actually went live, and feel free to go into much detail and share your perspective because I told you be honest with the people from your perspective. Feel free. Could you tell the story of your transition from college to your current career or careers that you have?
Yeah, sure. Well, a lot of people don't know I was a theater major in undergraduate, and I love theater, and I love the audition process more than I love actually getting the part. And that I know that sounds so weird, but it was the thrill of the yes or no. And I really wanted to teach theater, and I never made it into the MFA program. And so I was forced to go back to school to get a different degree so that way I can get a job. And so I went and got an MBA in business and technology. And my reasoning behind that, even though I was horrible at math, did not understand numbers, but the college lady that was there, the recruiter, she made me feel like I could walk on clouds. She said, this is exactly where you want to be. Don't worry about your math anxiety. Everything will be fine. And I told her, I'm like, do you really think that this will be good? Because, I love theater. And she's like, well, what is it that you like about theater? And I was like, getting the part. And she was like, getting the role, like yes or no. And she says, have you ever thought about sales? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, what do you mean sales? She was like, well, sales is very simple because you either get the job or you don't. You either get the customer or you don't. And I was like, ooh, okay. And so literally that's how I ended up in an MBA program going after business, with math anxiety and all, because that recruiter gave me wings, and I don't even know her name. I don't remember it, but she pretty much is the reason behind almost all of my success postgraduate because she made me believe that I could do it. Sales is a very scary thing. It can be, right? If you think about it. And so it's not something that we, grow up and say, oh, I want to be a salesperson. That's not what we say. We say that we want to be an engineer or we want to be a businessman or a businesswoman or I want to be a CEO or I want to be an entrepreneur, But when you really stop and think about it, all those things involve sales. Like we sell on a daily basis. And now that I understand it, now that I'm like 17, 18 years in, I still can't get enough of selling. I mean, it is just something that I enjoy. And that's why I'm excited to be here to talk to all the young folk about what it is that I do, because I don't want them to be afraid of selling. I don't want them to be afraid of it.
Yes. And actually, I have one follow-up question. Usually I have a couple, but I have one follow-up question because I didn't know that story. Number one, that the recruiter steered you in that direction. So one point, that's not the question yet. One point that I want to make is that when you are a college student or you're about to go to college or your graduate program, you may have an idea of what you want to major in or what you're interested in. But listening to the perspectives of people, advisors, faculty,
Mhm.
professors who may have had experiences, be open to their recommendations, be open to their perspectives. Don't say, oh no, that's not for me, because as you just demonstrated, that steered you in the right direction, that like gave you the path. She saw, there's not obvious connections between theater and sales, but we have talked
Right.
about what the connections are, and you could talk about that a little bit more. But before you do that, I would have thought that having math anxiety, because I can relate, or not being good, quote unquote, with math would
Mhm.
be a detriment to being in sales. Could you talk
Mhm.
about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Here's what I will say, and I want to apologize right now to all of the algebra, the geometry, the trigonometry. I just want to apologize because those type of classes are what gave me math anxiety because I couldn't understand the correlation or how it applied to my daily life. Like I didn't understand why I needed to know how fast train A was going to catch up to train B if I had never been on a train or let alone seen a train. Like I just was like, why am I trying to figure out how fast the train is going? Like, don't they have the little things in the train that tells them how fast? So, and I'm trying to figure out like why does A always have to equal Y? Like what happened to all the other letters in between A and Y? Like how did they end up together? Like that's how my mind thought. So I didn't think mathematically. I thought in like real life like things that I saw. And so I really struggled with it. However, um, when I got to my graduate level program and was able to equate numbers to money, that's when things started to make a lot more sense to me. It was like, oh, okay, so if I do this and then this equals this number or this amount of product, then that will equate to this amount of money in Jay's checking account. I was like, oh, so things started to make a little bit more sense at that time. So, no, math is not a detriment. You do want to understand certain numbers, but there's programs out there like Excel that do formulas. And you can pay somebody to create the formulas. And for most of us who go into entry level sales, that's what we have bosses for. They will create sales spreadsheets for us, and our numbers will magically appear. Trust me, that's a whole different skill set that we don't need as of yet. Entry level sales, we don't need it yet.
Oh, that's assuring. Because like you, I was surprised with the number of, and I do have a document here, which I will eventually try to share, with the information with regard to how many students actually when they graduate go into sales. But before we do that, while I look for it, could you, because you talked about this before, being a theater major and how some of the skills that you learned, so you don't necessarily need those math skills, but you do need some skills. So
Hmm.
your skills, or your what you learned as a theater major, how that helped you in being a salesperson.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that being a theater major did was it grew my confidence because I was very shy, I was very introverted. And so when I had to get on stage in front of hundreds of people, that is something that most people, I want to say, is the biggest fear on all the planet is public speaking, right? And so remove that number one fear from me because I was a theater major. I didn't have that fear. Second of all, the my theater advisor used to always tell me that I needed to learn how to let my ego go, right? Meaning I needed to remove myself from different situations so that I could just be and do what I needed to do. So that helped. But also presentation skills, which are key when you go into selling, because selling is nothing but presentations, whether you're doing it in person, whether you're doing it on the phone, however you're doing it, it is a presentation. And so being able to come out of school and be so young and be able to present on stage and to present so articulately in front of customers, right? That blew a lot of my managers and it blew a lot of customers. I mean, I was 26 years old and I was literally selling $1,000 products to high profile attorneys, right? You're talking about the most elite, occupation. Here I am just out of graduate school and I am selling them things that they need. And, that literally was the launch or the beginning of my career, and starting to love it when I realized that I had this talent that a lot of people just did not have, or they were afraid to even learn how to do it. So theater was the core of who I was, and I'm thankful for my theater advisors. For I mean, I think they were a little upset with me when they found out I was in business. I remember that conversation, but it all it all ended up going really well.
I love it. So let's see if we can share this document.
Okay.
Just because people may think I'm making it up. I am not making it up. And this information is from a company named MC, and they have a product that is available at many universities called Career Coach, where you answer all these questions, and it can help you like figure out what majors would be good for you and what specific skills would be good for the jobs that you want, what's
Wow.
relevant, what's popular in your specific location, things like that. But I don't even know if you can see it, but that
I can.
basically what they say is from the first job through the third job, liberal arts graduates gravitate towards marketing and sales careers. So I know it's super tiny here, but I'm going to say, so when they graduate, they have like all these different paths that students can take. And in this first column, the first two jobs are sales. And then the person could eventually gravitate to marketing. And then, you can have different career paths, but this is in order of, this is from 2018, and this is the order of the number of students who go into this specific field. And so sales is, like you said, so important because you can have different. I don't remember or if we've ever discussed the different types of sales jobs that you've had. I know what you do now, but how many different types of sales jobs have you had in your career? Because I know you have a side business. You also
Yeah.
have you've been in other businesses. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started off in advertising sales. So selling print and online advertising to local customers who needed to expand their reach into the market. And so that was my first job coming right out of graduate school. And after I did that, I went over into education. I worked for a college and I was in the sales and marketing program where I went out and all I did was talk to high school students and their parents about different career, or I should say career paths that the programs at my school would afford them to be. And then after that, I got into medical sales, and I've been in medical sales since 2007. I did still go back and do some teaching. I love teaching. I love teaching college. It's one of the best experiences. I love my students. Shout out to you guys if you're watching this. But just working with the students was the best part. And that too, as a college professor, I was selling to my students on a daily basis, reminding them how awesome they are. I always wanted them to know that. But yeah, so I've been in medical sales ever since. And so, I've done pharma, I've sold different products and services, sold to physicians and hospital C-suite professionals and, nurses and, all those different things. And it's so much fun. There's so many different paths that you can take as it relates to sales, but that was kind of like my trajectory. Like I went from selling advertising into selling, to physicians and hospitals.
I love the point you made earlier in your talking about the different positions that you had when you were talking about selling your students, because we talked about this before, that the skills of a salesperson, a saleswoman, a salesman, is not just relevant for the career in sales. You're going to have some element of being persuasive or
Yes.
convincing someone to, give funding for your idea if you're in a business, to give you a promotion or a raise. There's definitely elements of sales that are important for you to be able to know and understand. And so when you were working in the university in the sales and marketing team, I know that many universities have like sales and marketing classes or sales classes, and many students may be adverse to taking that because of what we discussed earlier. But if you don't necessarily want to major in sales, definitely take the class, learn some skills, because it'll help you in the long run. What did you teach when you were a professor?
Business.
Just
Business
general
and
business?
Microsoft. Yeah, general business. So, I mean, accounting, finance, HR, all the business courses I taught. And then I also taught English, and I also taught public speaking at a different school.
Great. So you have experience as a professor, so it's not like you don't know, what the students are going to be facing when they actually get out into the real world. So that is important too. So let me move on to my next question. So as we're just talking, it's an important skill to be able to communicate your desires, communicate to the audience that you're trying to convince something. So for students who are thinking about, in the summer, whether they are looking for an internship, whether they are about to graduate and going to be facing the job market, what are some tips for communicating and presenting oneself to potential employers and recruiters?
Yeah, absolutely. So this comes apart as a part of branding yourself. So what I would tell to the students is write a list of all of your accomplishments. Write them down. Like you should know your list of accomplishments. I mean, if you look behind me, you'll see that most of my accomplishments are back there. I like to look at them often because we need to be reminded of all the wonderful things that we have done. But write down your list of accomplishments, because when you talk to recruiters and when you talk to interviewers, they're looking for winners. And you have to demonstrate your ability to win. And so that's what they want to see. Now, on the flip side of that, they want somebody that's real, and they want somebody that's mature, and they want somebody that is able to handle adversity. So at the same time, write down 3 times in your life where you were faced with an obstacle and tell them what you did to overcome that obstacle. Because it's easy to win when something is handed to you, but the win is much sweeter when you are able to show and demonstrate your ability to overcome, and then be able to articulate the steps that you took to make that win. That's what they're looking for. If you do that, you will blow that interviewer away. And the last thing I will say is that interviewers are always looking for you to ask for the job. And that's a big part of sales. The probably like the last portion where we say ask for the business. Well, you as that interviewee, ask them for that job. When they say, do you have any other questions? Your job is to say, what do I need to do next to be the person that you choose for this job? They will be blown away that a high school graduate is coming at them with that type of level of interview. Trust me.
That is gold. That is gold. I love it. Yes, because many students are, as you mentioned earlier, they lack the confidence. So who's going to even feel comfortable, making that pitch, basically? Because what you're talking about is pitching yourself, selling yourself
Yes.
as you are the product, you are the what's being sold. So that level of confidence, that level of initiative will definitely make a definite impression on the people who are, they're gonna remember you, like, oh yeah, did you hear what that
Yeah.
candidate said?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
might want to get those skills and get that initiative on our team.
Yeah, and let me give the students something that has helped me because I'm a great salesperson, but I also struggled in the interview. And what I will say is I have a three-word system that this is so good that it literally will leave you in a place where they won't forget you. So when you are asking for that job and they say, well, why should I hire you? I want you to remember three words: phenomenal, awesome, and great. Phenomenal, awesome, and great. And you want to be able to pair that with three skill sets that you have. You want to say, I am phenomenal at delivering sales presentations. I am awesome at connecting with customers. And I am great at teamwork. And those are the reasons why you should hire me. And you can use the three reasons of what you might have talked about in the interview or three things that they put on the job posting. But if you remember phenomenal, awesome, and great and use that as your close, I'm telling you, that's some good stuff right there.
That's a script right there. That's what you were talking about, the script. That you
Yep.
so you have that, those are your keywords to remember, and you've already written down, and likely you're going to be practicing with someone who, will give you good and honest feedback, so that
Mhm.
when you are giving this pitch to them, you're going to blow it out of the water.
Yep.
I'm going to mention that I've taken your sales class, and I have learned so many tips, so many tricks that, it's like, oh my good, like it's gold. It's like, oh my goodness, that is so good. That is such good information. And like we were talking about earlier, all of this information applies not just if you have a business, not just
Mhm.
if you are, in sales itself. It will help you in various aspects of your life when you're trying to convince someone of something, like
Mhm.
convincing someone to hire you for the job. So these nuggets, whether you are really interested in being in sales and marketing or not, these nuggets are going to be helpful for you no matter what the position is that you're going to be looking for.
Yep.
So let's continue with the gold. I'm so
Okay.
happy. I was going to be good talking to you about all of this. All right. So you mentioned that you when you graduated, you went into sales right away. So what should students, if we've convinced them, like, okay, maybe I want to, go into sales. It's not scary. Ms. J said it wasn't scary. I can learn some skills, even if it's not the ultimate position that I want to be in. It'll teach me some important skills.
Mhm.
So what are some important things that students should look for if they decide, okay, I'm going to go into sales when I graduate? What should they look for in the entry level position?
I always say the best thing is look for a great manager. As an entry level sales position, I can tell you that the reason why I'm before you today is because I had a great sales manager that told me that I needed to study my craft. And he fed that craft. He bought me books. He showed me different people that I need to be listening to. Like he was actually invested in my growth. And as a salesperson, because there's so many emotions that go with selling, being able to get over the word no and hearing the rejection, right? And having to negotiate it, not always being at the top of the list. Maybe you had a bad month and you're at the bottom. There's so many emotions that go into it, and you need a great manager. So look for a great manager, and when you get to that interview, you share with them that you want to grow and that you want to learn, and that the person that is fortunate enough to have you on their team, they will be, you will be looking for them to invest back as far as, growth mindset, um, helping you study your craft so that way you can get better. It could just be a simple on the drive home, you're talking about one of your sales calls that didn't go good, or maybe one that went really well. Those are the things that my managers did with me early on in my career. Like they really groomed me. And, a lot of my success does go back to them. So look for that. Also look for growth opportunities in the company after you become a sales professional. If you do really well, what does that mean to your money? What does that mean to your checking account? And what does that mean for your career? Do not get into a dead end career, because salespeople, um, if you're really, really, really good at what you do, they want to keep you in sales and marketing. But you
Mhm.
want someone that says, no, if you're really, really, really good, I'm going to need you to come in and duplicate your efforts with other people that we hire. So look for opportunities in training and in management, developing sales and marketing material is even a big one for us, right? So look for those opportunities. Ask those questions on the interview. Don't let someone just pigeonhole you. Now, on the other side of that, because the money is so good in sales, I know a lot of people, they're like, keep the promotion. I don't want the promotion because I make more money selling, you know. So, but the point that I'm trying to get to is that you want to have as many options as possible at that company. So look for those.
I love it. And some of this information, like we've been talking about earlier, is not just good for if you're in an entry level position in sales. Many of these tips are good regardless of whatever career or industry you're interested in.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't remember. I think we've had this discussion before about introversion and extroversion. But in your opinion, based on your experience, I think people would think that a salesperson would need to be extroverted. But I don't know. You can weigh in. You're the expert on this.
Hmm.
What types of personality traits or habits do you think are good in order to be successful in sales?
Oh, that's a really good question. And the answer to your question is I'm introverted. I tested as introverted. So introverted, shy people can still be great at sales. So, what skill sets or what traits would most likely make someone who's most successful? The ability to get people to like you. People do business with those that they know, like, and trust. Okay. So open yourself up, be open to different people, different personalities, learn how to be a chameleon, learn how to get along with everyone else. And getting along with everyone else doesn't mean you're the talker amongst everyone, because I'm not a talker, even though I'm doing most of the talking today. If you catch me in a social situation, I am the listener. I am the person that's asking the questions. I'm inquisitive. So the way I get around it is I get people to talk more about themselves than I talk about me. And so what that does is it gets people to like me because I'm interested, like truly, sincerely interested in them. So it naturally just kind of works for me, right? Um, you have to be somewhat, how can I say this? You have to be somewhat competitive a little bit, right? And whether that's with other people amongst a team or even with yourself, having to outdo yourself. So if you find yourself loving sports, if you find yourself loving board games or anything where you compete or you're watching people compete, that's a good sign that you love the idea of working for something that you don't mind practicing. You know what I mean? That you just I could tell you, like, in my sales career when I first got into medical sales, I equated my sales career and my performance as a salesperson as if I was a football player. No lie. Like, honestly, like, I prepared like I was a Pittsburgh Steeler because I'm from Pittsburgh and that's just what we do. But I wanted to be Troy Polamalu, and I know that sounds really weird, but I loved how this guy played, right? He played hard. He went after every single guy. He, even if he, his guy was like 20 feet, ahead of him, he still fought every little thing. Like, he fought for it. And when he got up, whether he made that tackle or not, he always had a smile on his face. Like, he was truly enjoying what he did. And I said, that's my personality that I'm going to have as a salesperson. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to fight really hard. I'm going to play really aggressive. And whether or not I make the sale or not, I'm going to come off the field smiling and say, I'm going to get it next time, you know? And that's how I saw myself. So if you see yourself loving sports, no matter what it is, guarantee you, you will probably be great at sales. It's a great correlation. Another trait that you want to be able to have is the ability to think outside the box and be a problem solver, because sales, even though it's selling, it really is at the core of everything, solving problems, helping people solve problems. And if you can communicate how your product or service solves problems, you're going to be great at it. And that's just it. The other stuff you will learn. I did not come out of my mother's womb as a salesperson. I'm telling you, I was groomed, I was made. And you can be made too.
I love it. And just back to the competitive point, that is definitely so true. Because Jay, you're a lovely, nice lady. However, when you were telling stories about, you competing with, the other people and things like that, you say, I'm like, wow, it got serious, it got real for a minute. Because I think that is so true. You have to want to win, and
Yeah.
you will do what you need to do to win. So
Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love that analogy. You as a football, I can see you as a football player, like tackling somebody.
That would be me. And you know what? I will always give them a hand and help them back up. I won't be that football player that be like, I got you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right. So for students who so I think we kind of covered this, but feel free to add some more. So for students who don't go into sales, what are some sales techniques or strategies that can be helpful in the job search process? Because I know part of you as a salesperson is that you have to maybe do some research, or your leads are not always there. So what are some of the skills that may be transferable in that regard?
Well, being able to communicate first and foremost what it is that you're looking for, because that's the first thing that the recruiters are the job recruiters and the managers are going to ask, is knowing what it is that you're looking for. So the number one thing I could say as it relates to the job search is always rehearse. Have an idea of what it is that you want to say to people, because they're going to pretty much ask you the same questions, just in different ways. So know what it is that you are looking for, and know how your skill sets relate to what it is that they're doing. Be a master researcher. When you see a job opening, print it out or save it to your phone or to your desktop, and look at those first 3 or 4 bullet points of them saying what skill sets they need, and then be able to tie your skill sets into what those top 3 or 4 things are, because they're telling you what it is that they're looking for. And be able to give examples. Do not be afraid to give examples. As a matter of fact, the more examples, the better, right? So be a master researcher, be a master communicator, and, be as friendly as possible to every person that you come across on that interview, from the receptionist to the janitor. Soon as you step out of your car, it's game time, baby, right? They're watching, they're listening. They might even throw some really crazy things in the way to see how you respond, right? So monitor yourself, be professional, dress appropriately. Never dress for the position that you're interviewing for. Always dress for the next level up. So if you're going in for a salesperson, and you probably want to dress as if you are management material, because most of the interviewers will probably be looking for somebody that wants to grow, and showing up in growth is a good indicator. So those are some of my tips and tricks for the interview process. But as it relates to being a salesperson, always remember that sales goes back to solving a problem or giving someone a solution. You need to be the solution.
I
You
love
are
it.
the solution.
Yes. I'm going to have so many great clips after this one.
Oh, I love it.
So if you put your professor hat back on, the time that you were a professor, um, for those students who are business majors, in general, what are some mistakes that you noticed that students were making, when they were students, and even, because I'm sure you've worked with some entry level or recent grads in your job. What are some common mistakes that students make that you saw?
The biggest mistake that my students made was not believing in themselves and not having the mindset that they too are little J's running around here. My students were so good to me. They thought that, I was such a great, person and mentor to them. And I wanted to build them up to believe that they are, you know, in the same spot that I was in, when I first started my sales career. And so mindset goes back to everything. So the biggest mistake is making actions because of your lack of belief in yourself, And so I wanted my students to believe that they are amazing, that they can learn anything that they want to learn and be whoever or whatever they want it to be. Like they really could, and that was my thing as a professor. And, yeah, I was there to teach business and accounting and finance and, all that fun stuff. But really, I felt like my job was instilling the confidence into them because I know how it is when you get on these jobs. These people, they're going to teach you what they want you to know. They're going to teach you the way that they want you to help them run their business. So as long as you can learn, you're good. And they were in college, so I knew that they could learn. But the thing that they struggled with was believing that they too deserved a great position, deserved a great life, And so that was the biggest, I wouldn't call it mistake, but that was the biggest struggle or challenge that we had to overcome as a business class. And I'm telling you, if any of my students are watching this, they will tell you that they feel like they can walk on planet Mars if they have been through my class, because that's what it was about, instilling the confidence. So please don't listen to what the naysayers say or what the streets call them, haters, right? Don't listen to any of those the negative self talk in your head that's telling you that you have to have this in order to be great or you needed to do this. Listen, I'm telling you, I did not grow up this way. I was made. I had people that helped me. I had mentors. I had teachers. Surround yourself with people who will invest in making you. And you too can do the same thing. And that's the biggest mistake. You know, not having enough confidence and not having a mentor or a coach to help you
Thank you.
through.
I love
Hmm.
it. It's all good. It's all golden. Um, all right, so let's move on to, because you, like me, have many jobs, and you have had a lot of different jobs in your entrepreneurial career. So, in that capacity, for keeping the hat on, thinking about students, what is your thought about students who are interested in entrepreneurship, and what is your advice for how to get started? Because I know you've had a lot of different experiences
Yeah.
throughout your career. So, what is your advice in that regard?
I would say that entrepreneurship is the biggest form of self development that anyone could ever take in their whole entire life. No matter how smart or how gifted you are, you take on entrepreneurship, you are going to learn and you are going to see how strong you really are. So I advise that everyone take on some type of form of entrepreneurship in their life to just kind of, see what you can do, see what skill sets you need to learn, see what you like and see what you don't like, right? And work on those skills. The ones that you feel like are coming up short, if you feel like, you can't get your family to buy your products and services, well, maybe we need to look at what you're saying to your family and friends and why they're not buying your products and services, right? If you're struggling with time management, then maybe you need to read some books on standard operating procedures and figure out how other people are doing things. So entrepreneurship and business ownership will really tell you, what you need to learn in life in general. So I advise that. Now, for some of us, we don't necessarily have a lot of ideas. Like for me, I'm not the idea person. I am more of the executor. I guess you can say I execute other people's visions. So when it came to opening my own business, I struggled a little bit because I used to fall back on other people's systems and processes, and I would just be the sales and marketing brain behind it. So if you are somebody that's like me, then you might want to look at a direct sales organization, something that already has, operating procedures in place, and they give you the product and you just go out there and you sell it and you market it. And when you market that, the service or product, make sure you're marketing yourself. That company has millions of dollars out there marketing the company. You market yourself. Just throw that little tidbit in there. But yeah, if you can't or don't have an idea of something you want to start for yourself, go to one of these direct sales companies and sign up. I mean, there are so many companies out there. You can literally become a business owner within 15 minutes and less than $99.
So for students who are like, oh, okay, yeah, how do you know? Because I guess many students are like, I'm not sure what's a good one, what's a bad one, what I'm good at, because there are, like you said, there's millions of them out there. What should you look for if you're looking for, direct sales? How do you go? How do you do that research?
Yeah, the best thing is to start with what you like. For example, I love makeup. I love everything girly. So anything gets me. Jewelry, nail polish, hair products, makeup products, lipstick. So if I were to do a direct sales company, and I have before, they were always in the beauty industry. Always. Because I had fun. It didn't feel like work to me because it was something that I was naturally interested in. Then once you find a company that's within, your sphere of something that you love or you like, have a parent look at it, look over the contract, because some of these contracts, they have non-competes, they have geographical territories. You want to make sure that you understand everything about the legal side of that business. And then, most importantly, look at the compensation, right? How much money are you going to make? And so look at the opportunities and see if you can see that fitting in to your life.
I love it.
The one thing that I would stay away from, though, is do not do a business just because your family or friends like that product or service. Go for something because what you're gonna find, like many of us, and I don't even know if I want to be the downer here, but what I will say is find something where you don't have to depend on your family and friends to support your business, right? Find something that you are so passionate about that even if it's just you standing, you would feel comfortable talking to strangers about, right? That's the key. Don't depend on anyone. One, two, three, 10 people to supply everything you need for your business. Look for something that you're not afraid to go outside the box, meet new people, and talk about.
That's excellent advice. I'm just going to ask two more questions because the
Okay.
time just flew by. I don't know what
I
happened.
know.
I don't know how it happened. So I'm just going to do two more questions. Let's see which one I want to do. So for the students who like we've throughout this conversation, I don't know how you could listen to this conversation and not be convinced that you should go into sales. So for those people to whom we have convinced, you talked about your different experiences in different areas working with digital, I believe, digital marketing, pharmaceuticals, etc. So, what are the pros and cons from your perspective of going with, where you're obviously what you're doing now, you love the most, but what are some pros and cons of the different types of sales positions or industries that people can go into?
Well, let me start off by telling you where I struggle. So there's two big differentiators for me. It's inside sales and outside sales. Okay, inside sales is when people come to you or you're doing most of the work over the phone. This chick is not a phone person. My voice is horrible. I No, there's no personality on the phone with me. As a matter of fact, every time someone calls me, and no matter what time of the day it is, they're asking me if I'm asleep. And I'm like, no. Right? So inside sales is not for me, right? I'm more of a in your face type of person, right? I love to dress up. I love to get all pretty. I love to deliver because I'm a theater major, right? I love to deliver a presentation. So outside sales for me was really good. You get your freedom, you get to make your own appointments, you get to meet people and make friends. So think about the two differences between which one you want. The next thing I would say between the industries, um, it find something you're just passionate about, to be honest with you. I mean, as long as you can relate to the story of the product or service that you're selling, it's going to be individual to each and every person. It's so hard for me to say what are the pros and cons of the different industries because it's really an individual type of thing. I know people that are in telephone sales and they absolutely love it. They hate driving. They don't want to put mileage on their car. That's it for them. Me personally, do not put me in anybody's office where there's four walls. um I just cannot, I cannot function that way. But as far as the industries are concerned, the best thing to do is to find something that you're passionate about and see how you can relate to the story, to the solution of the problem that you're solving.
Great. So let me ask a question, that the same kind of question in a different way, just so people, because oftentimes when students are in college, they may hear about industries or careers, but they don't really know what the real deal is like when it's working in there. So, what would you say is the main difference between working in pharmaceuticals and working
Mm.
for advertising?
Well, that's a really good question. So advertising sales is was fun because every business out there needs advertising. Um, Pharmaceutical sales is speaking to doctors mainly, and you do more waiting than you do selling, and you only get like 30 seconds every time you see them. Whereas advertising, you set an appointment. Well, first off, let's just be honest. You cold call to get the appointment. You knock on doors, or you're picking up the phone trying to set appointments, and then you go in there and you might have, a sales presentation of 30 minutes. Whereas in pharmaceutical, the doctors are really busy. They have a waiting room full of people. You have 30 seconds to get in there and give your pitch, and try to say something that's going to grab his attention, so that way you can, market your product or service. So it's a big difference as far as time, as far as even some of the personalities that you deal with, because when you're speaking with physicians, they're highly educated. And so they want to talk to highly educated people. And I do not have an MD or a DO behind my name. So I have to learn as much about the indications that they're seeing, um, without having a medical degree. So it's fun because I'm always learning, but advertising is a little bit more low key. So if you don't mind cold calling, you don't mind setting appointments and literally like presenting a product and service like through and through, definitely do that. Pharma, build your key is building relationships and being able to get information across in 30 seconds or less.
Great explanation. Thanks for that clarity for those students who are trying to figure it all out. So, one last question, and then I'm going to allow you to share how people who have grown to love you as I do and are interested in learning more about you and your work. I'll let you share that. But so, do you have any tips? And this is an important skill and an important thing that college students should be doing. And we had this conversation earlier about the importance of networking versus grades. But do you have any advice or tips with regard to networking and building rapport? Because that is, like you said, that's a big part of what you do with
Yeah.
regard to sales.
Listen, I'm just going to say it like this. The people that you meet at any given moment, just don't burn any bridges with people. Try to always be on the up and up and learn how to connect with other people. Sales is about connecting. As a matter of fact, life in general is about connecting. And if you can learn how to connect and build rapport with people, you'll do really well in anything that you do because that's what it's about. So, college, you have all these people that you are in class with, you have all these professors with all this knowledge, these people in the different career departments. Those are the people that you want to get to know because these are the people that can really help you. Do you know how many people probably come to a professor in a given day and ask them if they have a student that he or she could recommend? You want to be that person that he or she can recommend. When those jobs are going to career services and they're telling them about the openings, you want to be like one of the first people that come to mind if that job matches your skill set. How would career services know that that job matches your skill set if they don't know you? So make it a point to network. The thing about your peers, remember the people that we see on campus and around, the cafeterias. I don't know with COVID if there's still cafeterias, but these are the people that are going to go out and do really great things, you included, right? And so you don't know if the person that's sitting two tables across from you might be the investor you need for your business, or might be the CEO of a company that you're interviewing, or might work for a company as a salesperson or engineer or a whatever. And you can pick up the phone and say, hey, remember me from college? I want to apply for this company. I see that you work here. Can you give me a referral or can you recommend me to the hiring manager? These recruiters and these hiring managers, I'm telling you, they get inundated with people who know people. When you see that job application, you have about 400 people applying to a job application that's already 3 weeks old before it even gets published. Because these managers, these companies, they know when a job is coming open before everyone else does. And guess what they're doing? Calling people to see how they can get that position filled as fast as possible.
So true.
So, yeah, so we have to be on the forefront. We have to be proactive about those things. And so that's why I say networking is so important. Sometimes it's not about what you know, and it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you.
You couldn't end without giving another knowledge bomb, dropping another piece of gold on them. Great,
Yeah.
I love it. Because I thought you were going to do the regular. It's not about who you know. It's yeah, but no, I love that. That's even better. I love it. So let me
Thank
put your website on the bottom, and feel free to share with the people how they can get in contact you, why they should get in contact with you, and all that you offer.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, I just want to say thank you so much, college professor, for allowing me to be on your fabulous show. Um, we have such great stuff to talk about that hopefully one of these days I can come back and share more. But yeah, for any of you who are interested in sales professions or interested in how learning a skill such as sales can help propel you into many different avenues in your career and in life in general, definitely link up with me on my website, www.jaunaiwalker.com. You can submit a contact form. You can let me know exactly what it is that you need help with. And, maybe we can schedule, like a 15 or 30-minute virtual chat. And maybe I could spawn some ideas for you or maybe point you in the right direction. Like I said, it's about who knows you, and you don't know. I've been in this game for a very long time, and I know lots of recruiters, and I know lots of people who are looking for great people out there, and I love giving referrals. So link up with me. Let's learn. Let's study. I do have a sales course that's going on, Perfect Your Pitch, Irresistible Sales Conversations That Convert. So if you're interested in hearing about that, if you have a product or service that you want to sell and sell better, definitely reach out to me, and I can let you know how to get involved into that. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, and also get a LinkedIn. College students, if you don't have one, you definitely need one. But you can link up with me on LinkedIn, on all forms of social media at Jaunai Walker. You can find me on any social media by my first and my last name. And that's
Thank
it.
you so much. This has been a pleasure. Like I said, there are definitely, like, I'm counting in my head, like at least, 7 or 8 pieces of clips that I'm going to be repurposing with the great information that you have shared with my audience. So I truly appreciate all of the value that you have given.
You're welcome.
It is 7:30, so I will let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening. I know you had a long day at work, and then you were gracious enough to come and join us. So thank you
Thanks.
again. You will likely be invited back on again. I
Bye.
heard that message a little bit. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Phoenix. I enjoyed being here. Thanks so much.
No problem. Bye.